Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about native plants, and I think I'd like to start a little series spotlighting some of the native plants that I have growing in my own yard. The reason I want to do this is that native plants are so important to supporting and maintaining our ecosystems and the environment, and ultimately combating climate change. And I think that the research has shown that home gardeners can make a huge impact in this area if we all set aside space in our lawns for native plantings. So, why are native plants so important? Native plants are important because they have evolved to survive in our specific region, and all of the other critters, the insects and the animals that live in that region, have evolved along with those plants. So the pollinators, the birds, other animals really get the most benefit from native plants. For example, the shape of flowers. So bees and certain pollinators have their bodies evolved to feed from specific flower shapes native to the area where they evolved. So it's really, really important that we are cognizant of that when we're choosing plants. Also, native plantings are really important in supporting biodiversity in your region. I recently did some reading. Douglas Tallamy, he has a couple of books out there that are amazing, and he goes into the science of why we need to, as a community, set aside space for native plants in each of our lawns, because we need massive tracts of land that are connected to support the insects and the animals that are supposed to be here. So if you're interested in the details and research, check out Nature's Best Hope and Bringing Nature Home. I will put links to those books below. Amazing research, really great information and ideas for home gardeners. So what happened? Where did all the native plants go? Well, in the 50s and 60s, when the United States started, suburban sprawl, we decided we wanted houses that look the same, and we wanted all of our lawns to look exactly the same. So we ripped up all of the native plants that were supposed to be here, and we planted grass because we thought at the time that that's what our neighborhoods should look like, that everything should be perfect and uniform, and just a flat tract of green grass, which is not a native plant. And grass also takes a lot of resources to maintain, lots of water, mowing. People fertilize their lawns, people put herbicide on their lawns. It's really not good for the environment. So as homeowners, and even if you live in an apartment and you have a deck or a porch and you can plant pots of native plants, we can really help the environment and promote biodiversity and protect our ecosystem and fight climate change by setting aside portions of our lawns or porches filled with native plants. The other piece is that native plants are, since they have evolved to live in this region, your specific region. So for example, I live in the Midwestern United States. The native plants of this region have evolved to and adapted to the light, the weather, the amount of precipitation they receive, the perennials, They can survive the harsh winters of this area and come back. So once you plant a native plant, there's really not a lot of maintenance. You don't have to fertilize it. You really don't have to water it after the initial planting. So you're spending a lot less resources in maintaining these plants. And the insects and the animals desperately need them to survive. So that aside, I'm going to take you outside and I'm going to spotlight one native plant for today that I have growing in my own yard. It's in bloom right now. It's called Spiderwort. Spiderwort is, I think, an amazing plant, and I don't hear a lot of people talking about it or planting it. And I don't know why. It's really cool. It can live in shade or sun. It blooms. The bees love it. I think it's beautiful. So I'm going to take you outside. I'm going to show you what it looks like, and hopefully you can start to get some ideas of how you can incorporate native plants into your own yard. So I'd like to kind of make this a mini series. So we're going to do Spiderwort for today, and then in the following weeks I will try to spotlight other native plants that I have growing in my yard. So enough talking. Let's go outside and let me show you what Spiderwort looks like. Okay, so this is Spiderwort. The scientific name is Tradescantia, and there are many different varieties of Spiderwort in the United States. I believe I read that there are 17 varieties that are actually native to the US. So the thing I love about Spiderwort is it can grow anywhere from a full sun area to a mostly shady area, and it will still bloom, and it almost looks like a grass. It grows in clumps like this, so it has really nice foliage. It gets really full, but then if you look at the tip of the grass, it will form these flower blossoms. And the other cool thing about Spiderwort is that it forms these bunches of blossoms, but it will only bloom one at a time, and each bloom only lasts one day. So it typically one of these will open up in the morning. By afternoon or evening it will close, and then the next day another bloom will open. So let me show you. I have this all over my garden because I love it. So let me show you one that's actually blooming. So this is a Spiderwort bloom. I think they're so pretty, and usually these are covered in bees. This just started blooming in my yard in the last, I would say, week or two. So it's the beginning of June, so the pollinators haven't discovered it yet, but once they do, they are all over it. So each of these blooms will last a day. It'll close up this evening, and then we'll have new blooms tomorrow. The other great thing about this is it will self-seed and it will spread, but it's super easy to pull out. You know, if it's seeded somewhere and you notice it pop up in the spring and it went somewhere you didn't want it to go, you can just pull it right up. You can divide this thing super easily. In the spring, I just take a shovel, cut it in half, stick one half where I want it. I never water it, I never fertilize it, and it always looks good. It doesn't even really get droopy, it always stays pretty upright. So you can put this, it's so versatile, and again, it can take a good amount of shade. So if you have a spot in your garden where you want some fullness and you want a little bit of color, you want some blooms for the pollinators, I highly recommend it. And I've noticed, so that was light purple, and this one is a slightly different shade of purple. Hopefully you can see that. So they do have a range of colors too. I've only seen purple, but I heard that they could be pink. They can, in rare instances, have white blooms. So I love it. I have another one over here. This one is a different variety. The only reason I know that is because look at the difference in size. These leaves are much thinner, and the flowers are smaller, and these are more of a fuchsia color. They're just starting to get ready to bloom. So if you want to find spiderwort, I would highly recommend calling your local garden center or nursery. I have never seen spiderwort at a hardware store, like a big box store chain, and usually you don't find native plants there. Most of the time, I mean, they might have a few popular ones, but the majority of the time you have to go to a local nursery. So I would recommend, if you're interested, giving them a call and asking them about the native plants that they carry. If you want more information on native plants in your area, you can Google your Department of Natural Resources, or just put in, native plants of, and then put in your region to get more ideas. There are lists and lists and lists, because this is so important for our environment that the Departments of Natural Resources, they've compiled lists of plants that are really beneficial for our environments and plants that are invasive and that you should avoid planting in your yard if possible. So I hope you like this video. If you have any questions about native plants or want ideas, please feel free to pop a comment below. I will continue to spotlight different plants in my yard, because I do make an effort every year to plant something native. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't plant non-native plants. Those are fun too. I also have a lot of those, but I really do try to make an effort to make sure that I do have a good variety of native plants in my yard as well. So I hope you like this video. Please like and subscribe. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I will see you next time.